Okay, we are recording. Welcome, Kathy Rowe.
Hi, thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
your patience. We just tried to do a live Facebook Live. Didn't work out. It's okay. So here we are.
You saved me from having to learn the same lesson. So I know now that's hard
Exactly.
to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now we know, right?
Mm.
So I wanted to bring you on here because we had coffee a few weeks ago. I could have stayed and chatted with you all day long because
Yes.
it's just so awesome to speak with like-minded people who
Uh,
are, on the same page and realize there's so much work that needs to be done in this province. And you're one more person out there doing it, which is fantastic. So why don't you, so for guests, this is Kathy Rowe. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I always love to know, people always have a story as to how they ended up down this path. Because for me growing up, I don't ever recall going, I'd really love to be a holistic nutritionist, right? That's not something that came to mind. And there's always something that brought us down this path. So I'd love to know your story and how you got here.
Sure, sure. I love that too. I love knowing the backstory because there's always something
Yeah,
really that got into this, right? That gets you so passionate about it.
exactly.
For me, I guess, I look back now, I had been obsessed with nutrition and mostly weight loss as a teenager. I was in gymnastics, as you know, and I was a competitive gymnast, and they were very obsessed with our weight back in those days, and we'd be made to get on a scale and stuff, like very different now. But back then, it was important, and they were always talking about diet. So I was always looking for ways to lose weight, even then. But once I finished competitive gymnastics and I was training for like 25 hours a week, I continued eating the same way that I had been eating, which back in those days, and even, well, still today, worse today, was a lot of packaged food. Yeah, a lot of Chef Boyardee, a lot of things in cans is made up the majority of my diet. So I continued eating that way and I started putting on a lot of weight. So come high school, I was just, you know, 30, 40 pounds overweight, and it came on really fast. And I was just always looking for some kind of trick like everybody else. How can I lose this weight faster? And up and down, the same 20 pounds lost each way. Struggled with that. Was smoking at that time, just really not a healthy lifestyle that I was leading after gymnastics. And cut to, I was struggling having a child in my early 30s. And they told me at that time, that I had the eggs of somebody 10 years older than me after they had done some studies. So even then, I was still smoking then. Even then, I I didn't change much of my lifestyle. You would think that I would get it in that moment, but I didn't. I still thought, oh, it's my genetics, right? Like I had no control over that. So then, with thanks to medical science, I did end up having a child. I had a little girl, and a perfectly healthy little girl. At her first birthday, I gave her some scrambled eggs. We weren't allowed to give egg whites until the first year. So on her birthday, I'd give her, I had no expectation that anything would be wrong. She was sitting in her high chair. Gave her a little scrambled egg, put it on her tongue. She spit it out. I put it back on her tongue. She spit it out again. I turned around. 10 seconds later, by the time I turned back, her little face was the size of a basketball, just giant. And it was frightening as a new mother. You're worried about everything. So that she was clawing at her neck. She was just so swollen. Turned out she had, anaphylactic shock to egg white protein. So from then on, we had to carry an EpiPen and that sort of thing. And then it just got me thinking. In that moment, somewhere around there, I just really understood the impact of food. If it could affect her on this extreme level, what was it doing to the rest of us, along the spectrum? So I started changing my diet. Instead of doing the next big diet, I started changing just my lifestyle. Little changes here. Started eating a little bit better here, a little bit better, one meal at a time, very slowly. And started gravitating towards more real foods. Less foods in a package, more foods that came out of the ground or off a tree. And that was my focus. And before I knew it, I started losing without even trying. I mean, I was enjoying what I was eating. Without even trying, I started losing all this weight. and I started feeling good. It was the feel good feeling that my head, it's like cobwebs, lifted. And I could see things. And I was wondering, God, are other people feeling like this? And the whole time I didn't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I was so used to feeling bad. I didn't know what good felt like, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that got me really passionate about it. And I kind of dove into all things nutrition. Once I really started feeling the impact on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
I knew I could never go back. Right.
Yeah.
And that other people needed to know, because I wish I had known 20 years ago, that the power of food.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I went back to school and I studied holistic nutrition, and I just loved it. And I've graduated now over a year, and I've just started up my business. I think what I offer differently than others, I think the old school model was, here is the expert that you sit down with. They give you the information, eat this, this, and this, and here's your meal plan. Go away. And of course, it's hard to implement, right? So I think that was the old model. I think what I do differently is, it's to me, it's not knowledge that we lack. We know we need to eat better. It's that we're not doing it. It's hard. It's hard to bridge that gap, right? Here's the knowledge and here's the action that we need to be taking, but we need to build those habits in between. So that's really where I come in. That's where I focus with people. I don't give them a plan. I help them find their own plan, what works for them, what worked for me, right? So they can develop some go-to meals, and we work on the habit change, the eating pattern that needs to change in the long term. And that is what's led to, amazing results. I've only, like I said, I've only been graduated a year. I only just started the business officially. I've already seen people off, different medications, like their cholesterol medications and their blood pressure medications, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds in weight loss. It's the power of food. It's blowing my mind, and I've only just started, so I'm excited. And I'm excited to spread the word, right?
Exactly.
So yeah,
The more people, the better, because we both talked about, and I don't know if other people do this. We do this as health coaches, nutritionists, and whatnot. Looking in people's grocery carts in the supermarket, I always inspect grocery carts, right? In front, who's behind, what do you got in there? You can tell, like a bachelor male, what he's got going
yes.
on. And like you said before, like we look around in the carts and go, oh no, we're needed here.
We're needed here.
Lots of people need our help. And the other thing too, like you talked about weight loss, how you started, just naturally making little switches and the weight came off. But it's not just about the weight, right? It's what that's doing to our insides and that gut-brain connection and how we're feeling. And a lot of people miss that connection as well, that, sometimes you don't have to feel like crap, right? If you're putting crap in, that's what it's giving you. If you put the real stuff in that Mother Nature made, it changes everything, right? And change your gut health, changes the gut-brain connection. You start feeling better.
Gina, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I didn't know that. I didn't know, had I known that change. And I think if other people knew quite how profound it is, they'd be trying it on a consistent basis as well, just to get there. I mean, it's such a good feeling. I'm chasing it now. I want to know all the little extra tips so I can, feel better and better and better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's a wonderful.
Yeah.
We're doing wonderful work.
Well, it is so good to see, and I've seen it myself as well, right? Pre-diabetic woman, and looked awful, like just gray, and she could have went the medication way and fixed everything up. That in that way that's the way that most of us know. But after 6 months working with her, I mean, she could just walk in. When she went for her doctor's checkup, her doctor just took one look at her and said, you look like a different person. Her color was back. She looked happier. She felt better in her own skin. She had 15 pounds gone. And just by looking at her, he said, no, you know what? Whatever you're doing, keep doing that. And you're good to go. You're no longer pre-diabetic. We don't have to go down that path.
It's a really good point you make, because I think, a lot of people start into this for weight loss, right? But it's not about, that's a happy circumstance. Do you know what I mean? We'll take it
more.
But it's not what it's about. And I think that was what was different for me in my journey. And that's what I want other people to understand too. It's about health. It's not the weight loss that will come as long as you focus on health. trying to improve your health little by little by little is going to get you everything that you want and more, right?
Yeah, yeah. And baby steps, not all at one time.
Baby steps. It doesn't
It-
have to be all. I find it's overwhelming, and this people just give you the information, and then you don't have the what's wrong with you? You can't follow it, right? But
yeah,
I mean, I think we're good with a plan until we hit a roadblock, and there's always going to be a roadblock, right? So we need to kind of develop our own plan with different strategies, and you need someone to help. I mean, it's so
Accountability.
much easier to have somebody who's been through it,
Yeah,
and help.
absolutely, absolutely. So one of the reasons I want to bring you on is right now, with everything that's going on in our world globally, people are feeling so much stress, and this is really difficult for all of us. I mean, there's not one person on the planet that isn't impacted by what's going on right now. But I know from talking to a lot of people, and in this group as well, and out, they're really feeling the stress of all of this. And I would love for you to talk about, because with stress comes emotional eating, right? And we're supposed to be in our homes. And I think because it's hitting home here now locally with increasing cases every single day, I hope people are getting the message that we have to stay at home. And with stay at home means maybe with some more TV time, some more baking and more cooking and movie watching. With that comes chips and and my girls are up the same thing, looking up cool recipes on Pinterest, right? Mom, can we make this? And I don't know, a couple weeks ago they made these Oreo cookies. They smushed up Oreos and put them into a cookie dough. And this is the type of stuff I let them do that because they had a friend over. It was still okay at that time to have a friend over. Not our norm in this house at all, and they know that, right? But this
Yeah.
is happening, and it's also stress related. So I was hoping that you might be able to offer a few tips for us on how to put a stop or at least control the emotional eating. And I know, I like my treats. I think you like your treats from time to time, and that's okay. But when we're in this situation that we're in, I think a lot of people are really feeling it. The emotional eating is happening, especially with those high stress levels. So I was hoping you could talk to us and share a few tips and wisdom with us.
I'd love to. I mean, I think this is definitely something we all relate to, especially right now. I mean, we're stuck in our houses and the pantry's right next to you, the fridge, it's easy to, yeah, the worries of what's going to happen next and all of that sort of thing. And it's difficult to stay present, right? And I think that is, if I can say anything else, staying present one step at a time, and we're saying baby steps, is important right now, But what is emotional eating? Emotional eating is eating due to emotion, right? Rather than real, true hunger. So, you're anxious, you're sad, you're stressed, what have you. Really, what we need to be asking ourselves, I think the first step is, okay, before you eat anything, ask yourself, is this real hunger or is this emotional hunger, right? An easy way to tell the difference is emotional hunger comes on fast. Boom. You go from 0 to 60. You just, I need to eat something.
Mm.
That's a telltale sign. And usually it's for things that aren't good for you. It's for pizza, it's for chips, it's for French fries, it's for chocolate, what have you. That's what you need, right? Whereas real hunger is more about, it comes on gradually, you're burning your fuel and you're a little bit hungry, you're a little bit more, and then you're hungry for a meal, right? So it's gradual, it's not fast like the emotional hunger. And also, with real true hunger, all foods look good.
Yes.
For the majority, unless there's something you really don't like. But all foods, I read once that if cold fish looks good to you, then you're actually hungry. I remember that, and I thought to myself, okay, hang on a sec. Now, is cold fish? Would I eat that right now? And if the answer is yes, then okay, I'm actually hungry. Right?
That's true.
Right. So I think that's important to establish. Get to know yourself. A lot of the time, I'm hungry, so you just automatically go look for something. But really, give yourself that quick second to say, what am I going through right now? And I think the tips that I would use once you've identified, okay, this is emotional hunger, what are some things you can do, right? Well, one thing is it's you need to, we all do, we need to learn how to cope, how to manage our stress, our emotions, a little better than what we've been doing, or something different than food. And this is a work in progress for myself as well. I'm by no means an expert. Things such as exercise, movement, so important right now, especially where we're closed in. I've been doing like a Pop Sugar video on the TV, working out each morning, and you can pick like yoga, all sorts of different things. There's a ton of them. But I find exercise really good for me, but it wasn't way back, right, when I was struggling. So I mean, again, baby steps with people, but I think exercise, movement works for me. There's also people love listening to music or journaling, or make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, reading, and most importantly right now is connecting with others, like what we're doing now, right? To relieve stress, to talk out our emotions, how we're feeling, call a friend, help somebody out. Those are the ways to get out of our head and manage our emotions, rather than just going right away for the easy solution, which has been the food. We need to stop those connections in our brains and build new patterns, new things we do when we're stressed, right? Rather than eating.
Yeah. So the awareness is first step, first and foremost, just being aware so that we can intervene with ourselves. Right?
Exactly. And say, okay, well, how's the best way to cope with this? Is eating going to solve this problem for me, or is it going to make it worse? I remember where I used to be a smoker, and I can't believe it now, but I love smoking. I smoked a lot for about 20 years, but that was my coping mechanism. I mean, it wasn't a healthy coping mechanism, but it was. And I can remember saying to somebody, they were telling me, well, like, what do I do? I'm really stressed out. I want to eat junk food right now. The kids are driving me crazy. I've got so many things to do. I might be losing my job. And, I said to her, I said, I know, right? It's hard. I said, do you think I should go have a smoke? I've been having a hard time lately too. I'm stressed. Would smoking, go for a smoke, would that help me? And she was like, no. And I'm like, exactly, right? So going to eat pizza or what have you, it's not going to help you. In fact, once you eat the bad food, usually when you pay attention, you have side effects of that, and how it feels gross. And if you can tune into that and how it's making you feel, it's not helping you.
And
right?
we know this, right? That's something else that we know, right? We dive into the ice cream or whatever it is. We don't feel better after. We don't. We feel worse. Why did I do that? I don't feel good at all. That did not help. Maybe we try to remember that before we dive in.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you're like me, but I find and I don't know if it's age or if it's just that I've cleaned up my diet. So I notice when I eat something that's not as good for me, I'll get like heartburn and stuff now. I never used to.
Yeah.
But it's almost immediate. It just turns me off. I know, I mean, it tastes good at the moment, but then immediately after I'm getting that bad feeling, right?
Right.
So that's that. So the second thing that I think is important too, and I don't want to speak out of both sides of my mouth here, but you know what? I think we need to let go of that whole diet mentality and that whole restriction, right? Oh, you can't have this, or you can't do that, or you're bad, or you did. You know what? It's okay to have a little comfort eating.
Yeah.
Especially right now, it is okay. It's not going to hurt you. Not in the long. It's the pattern of eating that's a problem in the long run. Is it a short term? Yeah, you're a bit nervous, and especially this last week, I think for everybody, don't sweat it. It's not that big a deal. Go ahead. I say go ahead and indulge every now and then and have a little bit of comfort food, whatever that is. All those rules, it's silly, And I find too, it's if these diets and what I did when I was younger, I deprived myself for forever, and then that would backfire. It would boomerang, and then I just binge on things. And I mean, they've done many studies that I'm sure you're probably aware of, that this is what happens. It's that boomerang effect, and that people go back and binge once they've deprived themselves. So I think let that go. Don't judge yourself. Don't take it all too seriously. It's just a little bit of comfort eating. That helped, right? That's
And one of
fine.
the things that I love to do as well is finding healthier versions of our favorite recipes, right? If there's something you like to have all the time, like everyone knows, I love my chocolate, right? And I will never be without my chocolate. But there's a healthy hot chocolate recipe that I love, and or I'll make some energy bites with little bits of chocolate. And there's I'm still getting that, just healthier versions of it, so that I'm not diving into the Chippets bag, right? Like
Exactly.
I've
And
done
if
it.
you got to make them, then you really find out how much you want them, right? If
Yeah,
you've got to go bake something,
yeah,
that's that extra effort you had to put in. Well, I'm only going to do that if I'm really motivated. So
yeah,
I find it best not to have, I have to have the ingredients around, but not to have the easy go-to snacks, more so I've got to make it. And that extra step usually gives me some pause to go, wait a second, what am I doing here, right?
yeah, yeah.
And these are habits. You're not going to be perfect at this right at the beginning either. I mean, these are little habits that you develop over time. It's a long-term, strategy here. This is not short-term. This is not a diet, right?
Yeah.
I think what your point was perfect, because that's really the last tip that I have for people, and it's commit to eating mostly real food. Okay, like commit to mostly real food. It doesn't have to be all the time. I commit to eating 90% real food, and the other 10% I don't sweat it. So a little bit emotional eating, I don't care.
Yeah,
I gotta live too, right? And
yeah,
that's what works for me. Some people will find 80-20 works better. Some people, and it's not always perfect. I aim for 90. Sometimes
yeah,
I hit 70. I
yeah,
don't beat myself up over it, right? And I
right,
think that whole mentality is important
yeah,
for long term, right? But I think you make a real. It's not that we need to eat less. We're always thinking, oh, we're eating too much, I'm overeating. It's not that we have to eat less. We don't. We just have to eat the right things. And the
yes,
right things is real food, stuff that's not in packages, right? That
yeah,
comes out of the ground, or off a tree. That's as much as you can. And I know it's a bit of a learning curve, where I was talking about that, the habits that we need to form. It's a bit of a learning curve, but most people, I think if you Google, real food recipes or real food, you'll get a ton
yeah.
of ideas, and it's
Oh, there's so
actually not
much.
that hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it tastes really, really good. I mean,
it
this is the other
does.
thing too. My
Yeah.
dieting food, I used to thought it would taste awful, and it would take too long, and it was too expensive. But
Yeah,
all of these things, as I've gone throughout my journey, I've realized are myths.
yeah.
And
What I've
and
yeah,
yeah,
what I've learned is that you eventually come to prefer it, right? Versus the really unhealthy versions, because they make you feel like crap. And I don't
yeah,
know what it takes us a long time to figure that out, but it does,
yeah.
and we go back to it time and time again. But also, when the body is nutritionally nourished, we don't we don't want the crap, right? Because we're, as a
You don't.
society, yeah, we're overfed and undernourished, right? But when we're nourished,
Exactly.
that is less likely to happen. And then we feel better mentally and physically.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not hungry. You're like, "Oh, I'm going to go for a walk.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
feeling stressed. I'm going to go
feel
for a walk."
good.
You have energy. You feel good.
Yeah,
You have your rose-colored glasses on. It's like your
yeah,
real food glasses on.
yeah, yeah,
Once you have those on, you start seeing the world differently. A little more,
exactly.
feel better.
That's amazing. So recap your tips for us, if you don't mind.
So they are, yes. So, well, first of all, before any of the tips, just identify, why am I actually hungry? Does my body need fuel now, or is this out of emotion? Right. So identify that. And once you do that, then you want to, of course, try to manage the emotion before you eat your way through it. And two is, what, if you end up having a little bit too much, don't restrict yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Really let go of that whole diet mentality. And lastly, of course, it's not that we need to eat less. What we need to do is choose the right foods and commit to eating real food. And the more you do that, the better you're going to start feeling. Your life is going to turn around, just like ours did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You feel better, weight goes mentally, your skin will glow, all of those things.
Yeah,
It's
you feel alive. That's the difference. I was kind of going through life feeling meh all the
yeah,
time, and
yeah,
now I feel vibrant. I feel, I don't know,
yeah.
it's changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for this. So guys, Kathy's also sharing with us 5 recipes, right, that you've
Yep.
linked to me. So I will link that in the comments. So a few things you can try. I saw those muffins there that look really good. Maybe I'll make those today. And the
Yep.
chia puddings I'm a big fan of, and the avocado. We go through Costco size avocado bag a week in our house.
Yep.
Tons of avocados and coconut milk as well. So thank
I
you
love coconut
so
milk too.
much. And
You're
if
welcome.
anyone
Happy
has
to
any
share.
questions, yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to post in the comments and maybe tag Kathy so she can see them. And I know you have another meeting now at 11, so I'm watching the time.
I do.
Thank you so much.
Could I also add too, if you got, because we're new, I need support. If you like what I've had to say, I would love for you guys to go on Facebook on Eat Real Therapy, which I didn't mention at the beginning, and I should have, on Eat Real Therapy on Facebook as well as on Instagram. So go ahead over and like me, and then I can start sharing more and more tips.
Show the love. Yeah, thank you for that. Forgot to ask where to find you. So thank you for adding that in.
My fault.
Yeah,
I should have mentioned at the get-go.
So I'm going to stop the recording, and guys, ask questions and I'll post those recipes. Thank you again.